To welcome everyone to Beyond Cosmetic Treatments at the Sugarbox Clinic, where today we're going to be talking to Ashton Collins, the director of Safe Face, and we want to talk about how we can go about protecting children from dangerous skincare. So tell me how this has come about, because obviously I've got children myself. I mean, they're grown up now, but it's not something that I had come across until I'd seen your podcast and you on TV.
It's one of those really sort of weird, unexpected phenomenons that has crept up, I think, primarily due to TikTok and with the
Right.
surge in that popularity, particularly amongst young children and sort of tweens. Um,
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of parents predominantly contact us and say that their children have either bought these products with their pocket money. So things, containing quite harsh active ingredients, your retinols, high strength vitamin C, acids, things like that,
Yeah.
that come in these brightly packaged, quite infantilized sounding products with pastel colors and hearts and things like glowy and all these different words and tools that appeal to very, very young children. And
Yeah.
then you've got the influencers who themselves are quite young on these platforms promoting these skincare regimes. So the children are either buying them themselves or asking their parents to buy them. And if their parents are not familiar with skincare, which many people are not, and what the ingredients can do, they're buying them for them, quite innocently. Until then, they have these adverse effects. They're damaging their skin barriers. Some of them have been significantly burnt because they've used
Yeah.
retinols and gone out in the sun and have
Mm.
had all this scarring and everything. And so that's what prompted us to sort of try and get this under control now before it becomes, the dermal filler, the Botox crisis, that type of thing. And also, I think it's just really damaging psychologically to young people that we are saying
Yeah.
to children as young as 8 that you need to change the way you look or you need to make self improvements. I mean, you shouldn't
Mm.
even be concerned about that sort of thing as a child.
I was thinking, well, what is it that we need to do to tell them to look after their skin? Because I don't even remember my girls using any cleansers. Probably was just wash your face with water, when they're 8 years old. But I understand that like dermatologists are saying, well, their skin is great. They don't need to be that it's renewing really quickly. They don't need to be using any products. I mean, if maybe they've got face paint on or they're using makeup, I can understand maybe just something gentle just to remove that at the end of the evening.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's exactly that. And I think, that's what troubles me most is obviously the physical impacts in terms of if they're damaging their skin or, it can bring about things like eczema and things like that if they didn't have it before
yeah,
their skin becomes hypersensitive. And all of that is a concern, obviously. But I think psychologically, the damage that social media is causing to young people, I can't imagine, that if children as young as 8 is obviously completely unacceptable. And I do appreciate that as you progress into your teens, these things are going to be naturally of interest to you. But, and obviously, when I was young, I was curious about makeup and things like that, when you're in school, high school or whatever. But I think skincare was never a concern at all. I didn't know
um,
what active ingredients were. It just wasn't anything on our radar. And I think that it's just
yeah.
infiltrating young minds with more and more things to be concerned about their appearance.
Yeah,
Um,
because this isn't
with
really about the argument as to whether or not teens should be using skincare. Because I know that you're saying that you want there to be warning labels for under 18s.
Yes,
Um, because really, when children are becoming hormonal and their skin is changing, we want to treat that, don't we? But it's
of
what
course.
this isn't about that. This is about targeting, and it's children who are, like you say, maybe 8 years old or and who don't need skincare. So really it's what are they consuming that's making them think that they need to do that?
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to, I suppose. Kind of the social
Yeah, it's
media
exactly
thing.
that. And I think, yeah, I think social media platforms need to be more accountable with in this space generally, whether it's injectables or whether it's this skincare and how things are being positioned and how they're being sold. Because you'll know as well as I do that there are a lot of unscrupulous injectors out there that say things on
Yeah.
social media, promote deals, promote things that entice people in, that make them not ask or think about things that might be safety factors because they are thinking, oh, this £99 Botox won't be on forever. I'm going to book it. I'm going to do it now. And, all of the things that if you had time to consider that properly, you'd think, well, why is it so cheap? How is this person doing this? What are their credentials? What are their qualifications? You don't really have time to take all of that in. And it's trickling on down now to things like skincare and things like that are targeting much younger people who, are not ever going to question what these people are telling them because they love them.
Yeah.
They trust them more than their parents and more than their siblings. And they look up to them, they idolize them. And a lot of young people now want to be influencers themselves. So they're buying these routines, some of these
Yeah, so
parents
they
are
could do
saying that
their own
they,
little video almost, isn't
yes.
it?
Yeah, exactly that. And some of these children are using like 15-step skincare routine, and it's insane. And they are asking their parents to buy very
That's
expensive skincare products. Some of these
it's
things
funny
are like 60
actually.
quid each.
Yeah, a lot of parents are saying, "Oh, my children have got a better skincare regime than I have."
Yeah.
And
And
it's it's a bit crazy. We need to really think about that for a moment, don't we? And think, right, let's strip this down to the basics. It's interesting because I did a little podcast with my niece, and she was saying how, oh yeah, I just liked how the products looked, and they looked like toys. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
yeah, and
So
they
what
do.
can
And
we do to help parents? Because yes, they could read the ingredients, but there are so many ingredients in skincare that how do they know what's safe or not? So because you're campaigning, aren't you, for is it labeling to be changed or for underage for children to be banned from purchasing products under 18? What is it you're campaigning for?
there's a few different sort of elements to it. So first and foremost, I think we'd like to see the actual brands be more accountable
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have clear labeling that says these products are not suitable for people under the age of 18 unless they've been advised by a healthcare professional. So like we said, it's perfectly feasible that some of these active ingredients would be helpful to a teenager who's having acne, prone skin and all of the rest of it, which
yeah,
is fine as long as they understand what it is and how to use it. Um, and so that's the first step we'd like to see, which would be easy for
yeah.
skincare manufacturers to do. And at a government level, I think, they could mandate something like that to make it, across the board, because what we could see is some skincare manufacturers doing it and adopting it and some not. So we want it to be consistent. And so government
Mm,
intervention would be preferable. Um, and also with the government, I'd like to see them do more with the online safety bill because they've got that. And that was predominantly developed to safeguard young children on social media because, things like suicides were happening where people were being influenced
yeah,
unduly by
yeah,
unscrupulous people. And so they could utilize that to better effect to make people and social media companies much more accountable for the content that's out there because in even in with injectables, we know it's illegal to advertise Botox because it's a prescription only medicine. But and although the social media companies have filters, so if you wanted to pay for advertising on things like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you can't because it would catch the word botulinum toxin or Botox, and they've got filters for that. But if you create an organic post saying Botox £99, it's a free for all. And
mm,
so there
yeah,
is nothing to safeguard that. And so it's a similar space with skincare. You can say what you want, make any sort of claims, target whoever you want. Um, and then that is children as young as 7 or 8, like I said. And so that bill needs to be much more far-reaching than it is currently, and it could
right.
be harnessed to such great effect. And also, the social media companies need to be more accountable, as do the influencers that are marketing these products, because, it is
Yes, because they're
incumbent on
now having
them.
to say ad if they're doing an ad. I suppose
Yeah,
there needs to be an element of, like you say, legislation for what they're going. Because I suppose, like for example, I remember, like you're saying about Botox, I do remember that being, um, I suppose, enforced on Google. But like you said, that's not being enforced now on social media platforms. So that needs to happen. But I guess that there's so much to be done. Is there anything that is in place or that people can, like the viewers, what can they do in order to help this bill to be passed?
I mean, they can support it. We are, developing sort of materials and things like that for for parents in terms of handy sheets so that they can be better educated around what these
Okay,
skincare ingredients are, which will be available on our website shortly. And
right.
also I think, we're going to be writing we've written to the skincare manufacturers, but I think what we're going to be doing is open letters so that people can use those templates to also send to the manufacturers themselves. So it just be an
Oh,
easy copy and paste. This is the email address to send it to. Because I think as much pressure we can put on these companies, the better. And I think if you've had a lived experience of this as a parent, hopefully it's something that you feel strongly and passionately about. And we hope that other parents will get involved with this because we're very mindful that this campaign is not going to have any impact with the end user, i.e. the children, because in any of these things, I remember when I was young and it was the just say no, and you think at that time, don't you, it's just like stuffy older people and what do they know, they're ancient and that sort of thing. So I'm very mindful that this is never going to
yeah,
resonate with the actual teenagers and children. So it's the parents we're targeting,
yes.
and it's the
Now it's
policy makers.
actually, yeah, sorry. Now it's actually really important because now parents are going to be buying products for Christmas, aren't they? So we need to
Christmas.
think, right,
Yes. And
what can
yeah, the
they
Christmas
buy?
market, yeah, is huge. And they're packaging these skincare products in bundles, and they come with very pretty packaging and little they come with like little makeup bags and little pencil cases and things, which obviously is very appealing to children. And my mum works for Boots, and she said she can't keep some of these products on the shelves. They are just flying off, and it is teenagers and parents that are buying them for their children. They're not buying them for themselves. And they are the target
Yeah.
demographic, ironically, for these actives, but it's the children that they're buying them for.
Right. Yeah. So really it's education. So podcasts like this are just really spreading the word. I mean, I
It
have been
is.
speaking to my clients about it, and they have said, like one lady went to, is it Sephora? She said they were really helpful. And they were saying, you just need a basic cleanser and a basic moisturizer. You don't need to worry about anything else. So it's nice to
That's
know that
great.
there are places who are, being active like that and
Yeah,
promoting
and I think
positive.
that's the other thing, isn't it? Like, and there's so much that so many different people could be doing, or so many different companies could be doing. So, like Sephora, for example, if your salespeople are versed in who these products are designed for, what type of skin, what type of age group, the sales advisors can advise. And so, it would be lovely to see like Sephora supporting the campaign nationwide to say that our advisors are trained in skincare and will happily, if you come into store, they
Yeah.
will tell you which products are suitable for your children. So a nice SPF, a nice gentle cleanser, a nice gentle moisturizer, absolutely fine. But obviously, we've got retail assistants that have no idea about skincare themselves either. And so I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
educational work to be done, because everybody could play their part, whether it be at point of sale or whether it's social media companies or the brands themselves or the government. All of these things would help reduce this significantly and not let it become what we're seeing with Botox, where the advertising of it is ubiquitous and we have under 18s that want it. And in Wales, I mean, we successfully campaigned in England for it to be banned for under 18s in 2021, dermal fillers and Botox. But in Wales, it's still perfectly legal. And we keep talking to the Welsh
Really?
government. Yeah. And they have no intention
Oh,
of implementing that law, which I find
that's
ridiculous
shocking.
because yeah, it's illegal to have a tattoo in Wales if you're under 18, but it's not illegal to have a dermal filler or a Botox treatment. And it's not a particularly complex piece of legislation. It is akin to the tattoo legislation. It wouldn't cost that much to implement, but it would mean that children are safeguarded and that if people are doing these types of treatments, there's repercussions. But at the moment, people can just inject with impunity and there's no recourse, which is
Okay.
insane to
Wow.
me.
Wow. Yes, that is totally insane. So, going forward to end the podcast today, how can we advise parents now for their, if they're buying for Christmas, what can we recommend? So I guess
So
it's a minefield. Even they don't know what to purchase for
oh,
themselves.
yeah, it's crazy. And I think for children, any child under the age of 18 that hasn't had advice from a healthcare professional that they need specific ingredients, the only thing that you can safely buy for your children that isn't going to cause them any sort of long-term damage, isn't going to compromise their skin barrier, are things like SPFs, which everybody needs, things like a nice gentle cleanser, a nice moisturizer, and that is it. And
Just
anything,
botanical products, isn't it? They don't doesn't
yeah,
need to be an
anything that's,
antibiotic.
yeah, just safe, natural, that's not gonna cause any damage. That is what you ought to be sticking to. And actually, if your child is below sort of 12 or 13, they probably don't even need any of that. They don't,
Yeah.
a child as young as
Yeah.
8 doesn't need anything.
Yeah, and I
And
think
so,
yeah, probably the key thing is to be led by your child's hormones. Are they
yeah,
starting to go through puberty? Are they getting a little bit smelly? Have they got spots? Are they growing hair? Those kind of signs to say, is their skin changing and they need a little bit of help? But other than that,
yeah.
just we want them to be on natural, gentle products. That's what we're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And I think, those are the three basic things. So if they are going to buy something, stick to those things
Yeah,
because it's not going to cause any long-term damage.
easy. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ashton, for joining us today. I'm sure I'm going to get you back. So there are loads of topics that I actually want to talk to you about. And that's it. Thank you ever so much.
Pleasure.